This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset me.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandy and Amir. I'm Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandy Rashidian is co-host and the wit and the brain and the looks of the show. And we are here to present to you the latest information on what's going on in the news about health. I hate to say health because like most of the stuff we actually report on is the opposite of health.
Well, and
what's
it's
the
also,
opposite of health?
It's also an overused term.
Right.
You know, like wellness.
Right. Or health care. Like
We know our system is not healthcare.
it's sick care. But
100%.
but like I really don't, when you look at the word, I don't see what's the opposite of health. Would you say illness?
Illness.
But you could. Okay, so let me give you a scenario, and I know I haven't even introduced the show yet, but let's say someone has no disease in their body.
Mm-hmm.
There's no viruses in their body. There's no bad bacteria in their body, right? There's no serious infection or any of those things we consider disease, right?
Okay.
But
Is that possible?
but they don't have the energy to climb up one set of stairs without running out of breath. They don't have the strength to pick up a suitcase out of the back of a car.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say they're unhappy, you know, the mood swings, whatever.
Right.
Would you say that person is sick? There's no sickness in them. Would you say they're healthy?
I would say they're unhealthy.
They're unhealthy, right? But there's like no opposite. There's no antonym for the word health. Because those are the people we need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You take care of
Well,
those.
everybody needs taken care of, but.
Well, yeah, but you take care of the unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
not the sick, because the sick have plenty of places to go.
Yeah, but they're not great places.
No, I know, but it's the because like we came up with all these new diseases, right? You got pre-hypertension and pre-diabetes, right? And there's going to be a lot more pre's because there's pre-menopause, there's perimenopause. So what about this? Is there a pre-sick? There should be a pre-sick. Because why is it two people will get coughed on, one will catch the cold and the other won't?
Right.
It wasn't the cough. It
No.
was the person who
It was
caught
the
it.
body.
You catch it or you don't catch those things. Just choose right now.
Let him go.
Let it go. Dodge. Duck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seems like there is a lack. And I would say of anybody, and I'm biased because I'm a chiropractor, I think the chiropractic industry seems to be the most equipped to handle all of the unhealthy people. Not the sick, not the ill, the unhealthy. Now, we take care of the sick and the ill too.
We have a place in that arena also.
Yeah.
Because we know if the nervous system isn't functioning, which means if the brain can't get the messages to every organ, muscle, tissue, cell in the body to tell it how to function, how to regenerate, we know if that's interfered with, like, there's no
then
way
you
there's
can't be
going to be an
healthy.
expression of
Right.
health in any way, shape, or form.
So it's kind of like you hit the switch and the light doesn't come on. You change the light bulb and it still doesn't come on. Well, then there's something wrong with the power source. No one's looking at that.
Right.
Well,
Except for us.
Chiropractors. So listen, the Real Health Podcast is brought to you by the Frederick Podcast Network. You can be found by listenfrederick.com along with Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and everywhere else you can find your favorite podcasts. Our purpose for doing this is so we can bring you the information that'll help you feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. So we got on a big sidetrack right off the bat.
You got on a big sidetrack.
Well, because I said health and
No, I know.
it's called the Real Health, right? Real Health Podcast.
Yeah.
But then I don't know what the opposite of health is. It's not illness and sickness. It's the people who are predisposed to illness and sickness because of environmental factors and lifestyle habits.
Mm-hmm. which most of the leading diseases right now are lifestyle diseases. Don't throw a tomato at the screen. Don't turn down the volume. I understand. None of us want to really look at our lifestyle and admit that that's a contributing factor. But if I get off of my meal regimen and I begin to take in more sugar than I should not be surprised when I have weight gain, when I have trouble sleeping, when I have more
Oh,
inflammation
no,
in the
no, no.
body.
They all say that weight gain is a disease. It has nothing to do with what you do.
It's not.
That's what
Sorry.
they say.
Well, I know, but
This is
they
the
are
new
wrong.
thing.
But they are making money off of.
You know what?
So
You know what?
You know what? So yeah, it's a thing. I think we should all just be willing to look at our lifestyle and own the things that are contributing to our disease processes.
You know, when you take care of your body, I believe it's an expression of self-love.
Yes.
Self-love leads to self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Self-worth is self-esteem. Self-esteem helps to contribute to society, to the community, and to your loved ones.
Yeah. And
Who do you
self-love
wanna be?
also helps with self-control,
Absolutely.
which is one thing that gets most of us in trouble.
Absolutely.
or
I'll
lack
look at
thereof.
that plate of food and I go, I love myself way too much to put that in my body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Doesn't mean I don't want it. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
I don't crave it.
You know, it's funny. I had a doctor once tell me, because I was like, I don't want to be on medication. I'm not on medication. I don't want to be on any for like an extended period of time, especially like if there's, we've said before, if you get into a car accident and your leg's over there and you're there, you go get some pain medication, right? Because that crap hurts.
Get someone to
That's
sew
okay.
that leg back on.
That's right.
Not a chiropractor.
But I don't want to be dependent on something like that. And the doctor looked at me, nicest guy, actually best bedside manner of most MDs I've gone to, or specialists, which I don't go to many anymore. And he said to me, you don't have to wear that like a badge of honor. And I go, but I do, because how many of your patients actually come through and aren't on any medication?
If you're middle-aged and you're not on any prescription drugs, congratulations. That is a badge of honor.
It is 100%.
Good for you.
And you should be proud of it, because the reality is, in our medical system, once you're on a medication,
You're on it.
you're typically on it. And even if you go to a new doctor, even if you lose 50 pounds and your whole biology shifts, because it does, when you make positive or negative changes in your body, your physiology, it changes, right? Like,
Yep.
if not, then why would you do it? Like,
Right.
it doesn't make sense. But it is a badge of honor. And the more we're able to refrain from taking chemical substances that have the kinds of negative effects. Did you notice I didn't say side effects? You should be so proud.
There are no such thing as side effects. They're just effects.
And when you can sidestep those, and then something in your body actually, if something malfunctions, oh my gosh, it's so much easier to figure out. It's hard to figure out why your body is not functioning when you've taken chemicals that alter so many different processes, because it doesn't just alter the one process
Correct.
that they're hoping it alters.
Right.
It alters a lot of things, and not most of the time positively.
Correct.
So, I think it's a badge of honor. I think we should all try to reduce the amount of medications that we're on.
Safely under the control of a specialist or a
100%.
trained,
But
qualified.
you have to lead the charge, because your MD is not going to go, let's try to reduce
No, they're
that.
incentivized. They're incentivized. The more they prescribe, the more money they make, and the more
Right.
kickbacks they get. That's a fact. Most doctors will tell you they make money by prescribing drugs.
You know what was really cool is last Friday, we do a training with our team every Friday afternoon when we get done with patients. And so we weren't planning to be there because we had something else going on, but then we were able to make it. And so Dr. Michael, one of our chiropractors at our South location, he was presenting to the team and like getting them started with the training. And he actually took the first 30 minutes to play for them a movie called Doctored, which came out, what, 15 years?
I think
12,
2011.
12 years ago, something like that. And it is a fantastic documentary on how the challenges between the medical industry, the AMA, and the chiropractic industry, how those two became so heated,
Adversarial.
I was going to say that. And it explained the foundation and the basis of that, and where the initial court cases and charges came from, and how, the fight laid out and how it was won. And man, it was so cool for our team to be reignited in the passion for what we do, because like we know a lot of the doctors that were interviewed on that, and they're old friends of ours too. And so to go through and actually be reminded about why we're here to help our patients and the impact that it can have, it was so cool. It was really fun.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I was glad that we got to
You
be a
guys
part
can
of it.
find that movie on YouTube. It's free. It's called Doctored. Feel free to, search for it.
Actually, Sean, can we have you put the link there? Yeah, we'll have Sean put the link to the, it's on YouTube, so they can easily go find it. I think you have to pay to watch it, but so
think it's free.
worthwhile. Oh, it might be.
It's free now.
Okay.
It used to be you had to pay for it.
We used to buy CDs of it and loan it out to patients, remember? Or
What's it?
DVDs, sorry.
What's a DVD?
Some of you know what DVDs are. You know what I'm talking about.
You know. Well, again, another side track, but we do have a couple of articles to talk about.
One of them I love a lot.
Yeah, so we'll save that one.
Yeah.
Well, let's get through this one quickly. This one is called "What Can You Do About Tinnitus?"
Not to be confused with tendinitis.
Correct. Tinnitus is ringing in the ears. And it's the kind of ringing in the ears that you can't control, you can't stop. And, it actually leads to a lot of depression, anxiety. It can cause people to want to take their own life.
It's sad.
Quite a few instances of that. And we have a patient who is literally in tears because of this tinnitus ringing in her ears. And but she's going through a lot of other things in her life as well. The article did not go in depth into a lot of the things I thought it would go into. So again, as always, I'm disappointed in this, but it'll spark some conversations. Yep. So tinnitus is the experience of hearing phantom noises, typically in the form of ringing, buzzing, or roaring sounds. It is a common and usually harmless condition. According to a 2024 analysis, about 11% of American adults experience tinnitus, and 41% of them hear noises constantly rather than intermittently. It's rare for tinnitus to be cured, but a person's prognosis depends on what is causing the symptoms. There are a lot of good ways to manage it, they say. That word manage, it takes me back to the whole big pharma thing, because they love managing your symptoms with drugs. But God forbid they cure something. Tinnitus can have a variety of causes. Sometimes it can be a result of tumors, nerve problems, asymmetries in veins, holes or fluid behind the eardrums, earwax, or damage to the bones behind the eardrums. In these cases, it's typical for tinnitus to occur in only one ear, and it can sometimes resemble the sound of a heartbeat. If your tinnitus presents this way, it's important to get it checked by a doctor. So, so sometimes high blood pressure can cause that, like really high blood pressure. And like plaquing in your arteries and so on, you'll hear your heartbeat in your ears. You definitely need to check your heart, check your arteries, get a Doppler test of the carotids just to make sure everything's open. Nothing about that was mentioned in the article. Obviously, if it's a tumor, there's going to be other things involved. There's a disease called Meniere's disease that they don't talk about in this article at all. But the hallmark of Meniere's is three things: it's hearing loss, vertigo, and tinnitus. And so if the buzzing in the ear is accompanied by hearing loss and intermittent vertigo, where you have these attacks of dizziness, that may be Meniere's. And unfortunately, I don't know of a cure for that disease. Some people say stop eating salt. Sodium seems to affect it. I don't think that's the case. I've seen people who had it, stopped sodium, and it didn't help. Now, the other thing that the article doesn't talk about, which I was blown away, but I know why, is long-term use of aspirin can cause tinnitus.
Interesting.
So,
Well, and think about that, because for how long did they prescribe a baby aspirin every day?
until about 5 years ago,
Well, and the sad thing is, I think a lot of them still do it.
a lot of our patients are still doing it, and we tell them, listen, even the FDA said stop.
Yeah.
We know a guy who says the FDA is the fraudulent drug administration. That's what FDA stands for.
I heard there were a couple of videos of people going, "Oh my gosh, who's going to be watching our food safety now that so many people in the FDA have been let go?" I was like, "Are you kidding?
All they're
They
doing
haven't
is
been doing it to begin with."
they only approve chemicals. I mean,
Oh
they
my
don't look
gosh.
at safety. It's hilarious.
It was so funny.
Another acronym would be Fraudulently Doping America.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, anyways, no offense if you work for the FDA. I apologize. No disrespect. I know your heart's in the right place, but you got to focus.
It's
Why don't
not
you
about
guys?
the people; it's about the organization.
Why don't you guys
and
like
what's handed
approve
down.
vitamin D and vitamin C? I mean, why don't you approve like
Yeah.
good things, zinc?
Melatonin, molecular hydrogen.
Oh my gosh.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, but the problem is
True
like,
vitamin C.
yeah. Oh, they are not approved. I go, good. I'll take it.
That always gives me a
'Cause
little more
the FDA
feelings of safety.
a few days ago they approved 3 new food dyes, and these are natural food dyes supposedly to replace some of the bad food dyes.
the petroleum-based ones.
Yeah. Moving on. Causes. Tinnitus can have a variety of causes. Sometimes it can be a result of, we read this already, sorry. Most of the time, tinnitus is a harmless byproduct of hearing loss. The hair cells of the cochlear nerve endings are damaged and send an altered signal to the brain, which is perceived as ringing, humming, buzzing, or static sound. People who are regularly exposed to loud noises are also more likely to develop tinnitus. Make sure you're using the proper ear protection.
So I looked at this and I go, well, what else could cause it? Because anytime they like brush over like causes like that, my little hairs always stand up. And so one thing that we've talked about on past podcasts is about frequencies and like EMFs and things. And we know nobody has anything good to say about like 5G, right? So I did a little bit of digging, and it said, while not conclusively proven, growing evidence suggests that electromagnetic frequencies, especially from 5G, Wi-Fi, and cell towers, may aggravate or trigger tinnitus in sensitive individuals. Electromagnetic sensitivity, EHS, there's actually an acronym for it, can involve symptoms like tinnitus and dizziness. EMFs may cause oxidative stress and disrupt calcium ion channels in auditory neurons. Studies show long-term mobile phone use may correlate with increased tinnitus risk. And then I was thinking about what else do we put in our ears? Like earbuds, for example. Yes, earbuds can lead to acoustic trauma and nerve stress, especially with prolonged or loud use. Sound directed into the ear canal at high volumes can damage the inner ear. Poor quality earbuds may increase distortion and auditory strain. Wearing earbuds during sleep or for hours increases the risk of developing tinnitus. So how many of our kids use those earbuds, right? Now, you and I wanted to know if the bone conduction earphones, that's what we use, if they're safer. And it said generally, yes, bone conduction headphones bypass the eardrum and reduce direct auditory canal stress. So open ear design allows awareness of ambient sounds, less likely to cause acoustic trauma than traditional earbuds, though they still emit some EMF via Bluetooth, but lower than phone to ear use. So I thought that was really great information. And just these are the things I think number one, they're not going to call to the forefront, right, in articles like this. So we need to always be thinking, what are those micro traumas, right, that we
Right.
keep allowing our bodies to be exposed to, because the micro traumas can be worse than the macro traumas. And that's, I think we need to be wary of that. I'm super freaked out about that about the different frequencies that we come in contact with and whatnot. I think it's dangerous. So we got to be cautious.
That makes sense. Well, and so doctors may suggest the hearing test or order an MRI to see if there's tumors. If tinnitus is caused by a bone, nerve, or circulatory issue, then treating the underlying problem may cure it. But if hearing loss is the cause, then treatments can improve symptoms, but may not eliminate them. Typically, tinnitus treatments for people with hearing loss are aimed at reducing the impact on their daily lives, particularly on sleep and their ability to work. One popular approach involves listening to masking sounds such as white noise, ocean or rain sounds, music, and the sounds of fans or humidifiers. Or
We
how
got
about
that covered at our house.
dehumidifiers, which can make tinnitus less noticeable. Now, incidentally, there are certain senses that acclimate to the environment, and there are certain senses that never do. So I'll give you an example. Smell. You walk into a room that smells bad, within minutes, the nerve endings in your olfactory nerve, they acclimate, and then you can't smell it anymore. It's like they get blunted. So you smell it at first, and after a minute or two, you can't smell it anymore. Someone else walks in the room, they'll say, "This room smells bad," and you can't smell it anymore because it acclimates. Another one is temperatures, but not extreme temperatures, like moderate temperatures. So you jump in the pool, it's cold, but then your body gets used to it. It doesn't feel cold anymore. Your body normalizes. And the third one is light touch. You put your wristwatch on. At first you feel it, then you don't feel it anymore. Otherwise,
Now I
you'd
feel it.
constantly be talking about it. Yeah, unless you're aware
Now I
of it.
feel it again.
You don't feel it. So it's not constantly. But now things like pain signals you never acclimate to because it's a protective mechanism. If something's causing pain, your brain's always going to pay attention to it. Sound is one of those things your brain does not acclimate to. That's why tinnitus is such a bad thing, because it literally can drive people crazy. And however, continuous constant sound. So they talked about ocean noises. Well, I don't think ocean noises can help you sleep. But if it's a constant white noise that doesn't fluctuate in intensity or volume, then you can learn to ignore that and fall asleep.
I started thinking about that other condition, that repetitive noises like drive you like nutso. That's the one I have.
Is that a disease or is it
No,
a preference?
It's a diagnosis. It's a neurologic condition, they say. So where I have to pull up the name. I was just talking with somebody about
like
it.
if I'm eating, if my spoon hits the dish and it makes a clunk, she doesn't like it.
Oh, no.
It bothers
It's
her.
not one clunk. It's the constant.
Why? You like clunk, 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 clunk.
Now, it's usually at the end when you're trying to clean.
Scrape up the bottom.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it takes everything I have not to throat punch you. I love you, though. Eating an apple
That's
next
why I
to
don't
me.
sit next to her when I eat. I sit like 2 seats over her.
And
she can't reach.
remember when you would try to eat an apple in the car and
She's
you'd
got
be
a
like,
mean throat punch.
yeah, that's a thing. I'm not the only one with it. Drives me nuts. Moving on.
Don't eat apples next to Brandy.
Misophonia. I think it's called misophonia, and not because it's phony. For the record.
It's called Brandy's particularities.
I mean, I do believe I'm special. God made me very special, but I don't
Unique
think that's
in your
one of
own
them.
way. I'm sure it's a gift.
100%.
I live with it. It's okay. I just try not to make noise when I'm eating.
Yeah,
I'm very self-conscious, actually.
You haven't conquered it yet.
See? Noiseless eating. That's why we turn the TV up. Put some sound on. It's called ambient noise.
Music, something.
Help you with your particular brand of tinnitus.
Distract me.
Where are we? Typically, tinnitus treatment. We talked about that. So actually, this is cool because it says some hearing aids even have special tinnitus masking settings that may feed certain frequencies into the ear to optimize
Frequencies.
masking.
There we go again. They're so important.
But then they go counseling and other forms of therapy can help too. Like, how do you counsel someone when they have a noise that keeps them awake at night? It's going to be okay.
Well, they also go down to, because I think this is probably good, but they say be wary of miracle cures. And they're saying there's some patients who have bought over-the-counter eardrops containing heavy metals to their appointments. And this particular guy says, I take a look at the drops and they have ingredients I would never put in the human body. This is the same guy that prescribes all of these medications that should never be in the human body. I'm like, you all are, I think your heart is in the right place, but I don't think they see the idiocy in some of these statements.
Yep.
Like, I agree heavy metals shouldn't be in the body, but neither should some of those chemicals from the
But
pharmaceutical.
if you're battling from tinnitus, our heart goes out to you.
Yes, that's not easy.
But if you've been on long-term aspirin, the FDA says you can stop and you should stop. So I'm just telling you what the FDA says. If you're one of those people who likes to follow FDA regulations, there you go. Stop taking the aspirin every day.
Well, we've done it again.
We were going to spend very little time on that one because we have one that we like.
Because it was like a 2-page article.
Same thing happened last time.
We didn't think we had much to say, and I guess we always have a lot to say.
It's your food sound thing. That took at least 3 minutes of the podcast.
Wow. Well, now anyone who's about to ask me to go hang out and have dinner or lunch with them.
Don't eat an apple in front of her.
I highly recommend not.
Anyways, so let's save this for the next one. It's about aging and being happy while you age.
But I love this article. I'm so excited to go through this
You
with our
just
team.
like old men.
Well, I have one of my own, so yes.
Who's that?
You.
All right. As long as you still like me.
Yes.
So we're going to wrap up for this one, and we're going to come back in a few days, and we're going to go over this
10
other
tips
one,
for being happily 85 years old.
which applies to like 75 also.
100%.
Okay.
I think all of it applies
Don't
to
tune
all
us
of us.
out if you're not 85. I think it applies to every age, but it's a little bit of good advice from a fairly humorous, nice old man.
Yeah. I'm excited.
So see you then.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.